It would be large. Good?
You want to let Bill run the pledge?
Huh?
You want to let Bill run the pledge?
Good morning, everyone. We will call the December 27th Crow Wing County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Please join us for the pledge in a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is recognition.
Mr. Chair?
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Coring?
Here.
Commissioner Brecken?
Here.
Commissioner Barrows?
Here.
Commissioner Hoag?
Here.
Commissioner Franzine is absent.
Thank you. Recognition of a longtime highway employee.
Good morning, Chair and Board. For better or worse, more worse for me, we are recognizing the retirement of Mark Melby, our engineering coordinator. As some of you know, we always hire 1 or 2 or 3 seasonal workers in our department for the construction program. Mark started in 1993 as a seasonal worker, and in between summers, he was a math teacher. So he's been around a long time, done a lot of stuff for us. You know, some of the main things are contract administration. I tried to put together over the years, Mark probably authorized payments to contractors about $250 million with a B. So it's an awesome responsibility. So probably his biggest contribution was covering my mistakes for 24 years. So I'll be missing that. Mark's actually the last employee at the highway department who was there when I started. So he's going to make me the old man after this. So Mark also was the supervisor for the engineering technicians in our department. Ranged anywhere from 4 to 5 to 6 people at any given time. Our average tenure of the people there right now is over 10 years, so that doesn't just happen because the work is fun. It's because you do have a good supervisor that they enjoy coming to work with. Mark had the unenviable task of being in charge of our right-of-way acquisitions for over 20 years. So it's never fun for us or for the people we go meet with to say, we need to impact your front yard, your trees, your fence, your buffers, to make a better, safer situation for thousands of people a day on the road. So Mark, I don't know if he met with thousands. I know it's well into the hundreds because just last year he, on one project, delivered over 200 separate right-of-way acquisitions. Actually, there were 222 to acquire. He got 215 of them done without the need for any legal course, so that was quite amazing. He gave us warning about a year ago that he's going to retire, knowing that we'd need that entire time to have meetings, trainings, figure out what he does, how he does it. I know come next week we're going to have an issue come up and we're going to look at each other and say, how do we do this? But we'll get through it. We have a good person stepping into Mark's shoes. Mark has been the main, I call him the kind of the fixing the breach in the dike. You know, we probably all worked with employees who, I don't know how many times I've sent out an email to 2, 3, 4 people saying, we need to do this, we need to cover this, always knowing we meant Mark. You know, I didn't have to say it. I'm going to have to be a little more clear in the future because you've probably seen, I've seen an old joke somewhere that somebody needs to do this, anybody could do it. In the end of the day, nobody did it. In an odd way, Mark was our nobody because he always did it. So we're going to miss him. You know, I don't think the county taxpayers know what the benefit of having Mark in that position for 29 years has been. Solid, consistent employee, always had the public in mind. And we're going to miss him. I just personally want to thank him for everything he's done. You can't fill those shoes. You just get a different pair of shoes. And I'm glad we can honor him, and he is able to retire in good health to do some other things with his family moving forward. So, Mark?
Can we get a picture?
Yep. You want to give a speech?
You want?
I have nothing to add. But I mean, he probably exaggerated a little bit on some things, but it's been a privilege and an honor to work for Crow Wing County.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Likewise.
You know, thanks to giving me a full-time job in 1994.
All right. Perfect. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, we could take it like this, I guess, over here.
Yeah, we should have stood in front of the screen.
Next item is open forum. If there's anybody here that would like to speak towards something not on the agenda? Seeing none. Review and approve the December 13th Crow Wing County Board meeting.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Brecken. Dries?
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag?
Aye. Item 5, review and approve today's agenda.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I'd like to have a moment on the additional business.
Okay. Any other?
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the agenda for today.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Brecken. Dries?
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag?
Aye. Motion passes. Brings us to the consent agenda. Are there any questions, comments?
Motion to approve. Coring.
Motion by Commissioner Coring,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Brecken. Dries?
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag?
Aye. All right, we're sailing right along here. Community services.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Tammy Loick, Community Services, Adult Services Manager. Very small request here this morning, but it is something that we are required to bring in front of the board for approval. Our Cummings Treasured Time Adult Day Service is looking to expand from the capacity of 10 to 14. This is we're actually excited about this request because Adult Day Service, we have about 50 openings, in Crow Wing County. Cummings Treasured Time is over in the Deerwood area, so it's not here in Brainerd, which is really nice for us. And they are actually at a place that they could increase this number, and so they are requesting us to move to 14. And this gives us just another option for individuals that are retiring and really don't want to seek any employment, but yet they would benefit from a day program. So they go to day service during the day. This allows them to get out of their house, potentially give some respite to their caregivers and have some daily activities outside of employment. So my request today is to approve the Cummings Treasured Time Adult Day Services request to expand their services from 10 to 14 individuals that they can serve within their program, and I'm also asking to be authorized to sign the necessary documents to approve this determination of need application to expand day services on behalf of Crow Wing County.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barrows,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Brecken. Trees.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Hall?
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Land Services.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. This next item is our request to sign and agree to the memorandum of agreement for a Crow Wing River One Watershed One plan. So this is the fourth One Watershed One plan we're about to undertake, 5 total in Crow Wing County. So we started with this process back in 2017 with the first meeting about the Pine River watershed, and slowly but surely and successfully we are working towards I don't want to call it a complete takeover, but a complete redo of our existing Crow Wing County watershed plan that was approved back in 2013. So we'll have 5 One Watershed One plans soon that'll essentially be the Crow Wing County's water plan. But for the purposes of this one, this watershed is located primarily west of Crow Wing County. We actually have a map that I think shows it a bit. I think it would be good to pull that up if we can. Let's see if I can find a good page. Packet page 141, if we can. I think that would do a good job. There we are. My apologies that it's black and white. That's the form I got it in. But there you go. There's Crow Wing County on the east side of this map. You can see that you have North Long Lake, Round, a little bit of Gull, and some other lakes that are more of the important lakes in Crow Wing County that cover this watershed. The rest of it goes through Wadena, Becker, Hubbard, and a few other counties as well, and including Cass on the south side. So there's a number of different counties that encompass this particular one. So back in May 24th, this board approved a resolution supporting a grant to actually develop the plan. The grant was accepted and approved by the state of Minnesota, and now Hubbard County Soil and Water Conservation District, they've been awarded that grant and they're ready to begin the development process with their area partners. This memorandum of agreement has been reviewed by the Hubbard County Attorney's Office. It's similar in concept to the MOAs we have for the Pine River and Brainerd, Mississippi watershed, so it's a very, very similar format, and there's been a lot of work over the last few years to refine this memorandum, so it's fairly uniform. Becker, Cass, Hubbard, Ottertail, Todd, Wadena, and their respective soil and water conservation districts and boards do plan to participate. Hubbard County is going to be taking the brunt of the planning organization and activities. They'll be acting as the fiscal agent and the grant administrator. Our role is going to be to assist with part of the technical advisory committee, which is mostly staff, working with the data, working with the objectives, being at the policy committee and the advisory committee meetings. So that will be our role, is to be an active participant there. All counties in the watershed do support this planning process and the proposed MOA as drafted. There's going to be a policy committee that will be formed consisting of 1 county commissioner and 1 soil and water conservation district supervisor from each county. They, as we've said before on these watershed plans, the policy committee has recommendation authority in this concept, not a binding final authority over things. So board still retains their decision-making authority. A kickoff meeting is going to be held in the future. We don't have a date set yet, but presumably this would be up to about a 2-year planning process. We anticipate it'll probably be shorter than that, but that's a little bit about this. Crow Wing, the watershed encompasses about 10% of the county, and while that's not a lot, there are some significant lakes in that area. There's going to be a collaboration model proposed with this memorandum, meaning not a joint powers as of yet or anything like that. It's proposed to be more of a collaborative effort. And so that's a little bit of a framework. And as course with all One Watershed, One plans, the idea is to prioritize, target, and measure conservation activities and provide a vehicle to receive clean water dollars through the state of Minnesota to implement this plan when it's finished. Going back to what I was talking about with a policy committee member, I do have a map. Let's see if I can find the packet page, 143, 144. Keep going, right, there it is. So, and I realize Commissioner Franzine is not in attendance today, but it just so happens that we'll need to appoint a policy committee member from the county board. It just so happens that this yellow area, here's the watershed outline, and then we've separated out the different commissioner districts by what percent of the watershed consists of that district. The yellow sort of wins out at 56%. So, Mr. Chair, just something to consider as far as appointing a member of a policy committee. Commissioner-elect Lubke has the second most, although I suspect he'll probably be involved with the Pine River watershed. So we will in January need to appoint that as a committee member. Just something to think about as you go through that exercise. Here today, though, just looking for a motion to sign and approve the MOA so we can keep moving. I'll take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Jake. Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve and sign the memorandum of agreement for development of the Crow Wing River One Watershed One plan.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Barrow, second by Commissioner Brecken. Therese?
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Jake.
All right, thank you.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I am here today to talk about our watercraft inspection expanded coverage program that we have. I'll give you just a little bit of background on how that usually works every year. Every year in about January, we present the county AIS plan to the county board for approval. And in that plan, the county board approves the hours that we allocate to each landing. And here's a map of our 2022 hours that we allocated. And then each year, we allocate our inspectors to these landings according to this plan, according to a risk model. And similar to prior years, last year we saw a shortage of inspectors, so we were not able to fulfill all of our county hours and a lot of our expanded coverage hours. Each spring before our inspection season starts, we reach out to the lake associations and request them to send in any expanded coverage requests that they want. So we typically staff most landings Friday through Sunday and then some holiday hours. And then the lake associations may want inspectors there Monday through Thursday, so they can send that request to us. And if we have inspectors that are willing to work those hours, we will staff those hours as well. And then we sign an agreement. There is a policy in place stating they will be billed for all of these expanded coverage hours as they are filled and at a given rate, which is their salary plus their benefits. And then this season, like I said, we were short inspectors, so we did not meet all of our county hours on all of our landings, as well as we did not meet all of the requested expanded coverage hours. So this brought us into a situation where we're currently at, and what we're bringing before you today to get some direction from you guys is one of our lake associations, WAPOA. We did not meet our county allocated hours on those landings, and we did not fulfill their full expanded coverage request. So their beliefs are that the county should use those extra funds because we allocate a pot of money according to the hours that we allocate. And they shouldn't have to pay for the full expanded coverage hours that they were given because we allocated a certain set of money to those landings. So I'll kind of have Gary go into more detail here on that, but just to give you a total number of hours, we allocated 2,628 hours to WAPOA's landings according to our model, and we fulfilled just under 1,900 of those hours. They requested a total of almost 3,300 expanded coverage hours, and we fulfilled just over 2,000 of those expanded coverage hours, of which we billed them for. I'll just let Gary expand from there.
We could pull that map back up just to help galvanize the issue here is the county board approved a number of hours per landing, and we have agreements with the lake associations if they want expanded or more coverage than that. We usually staff again Friday through Sunday. If they want to have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or, before or after those hours, they can definitely request that, but that would be paid, they would reimburse us for those hours. Currently, WAPOA's belief is because we didn't use all of those hours on those landings, that we should spend that money for their expanded coverage. Our belief is that's not what the county board had approved, so we were here to get clarification if you're good with that, or if WAPOA needs to pay for their expanded coverage. I think that's kind of just trying to crystallize it for you. Now, I believe WAPOA's president, Anthony Coffey, is on, if you guys wanted to hear from him too before,
Sure. Would you care to comment, Mr. Coffey?
Yes, I would. I thank you for allowing me to do that. I think we all agree that the lakes in Crow Wing County are a prime economic engine for the county, and I don't want to belabor that issue because we all get it. But the primary objective of the county's AIS prevention plan is and WAPOA and the other lake association is to prevent new AIS from entering the waters here. Crow Wing County received almost $463,000 from the state of Minnesota in 2022 to fund the county's plan. The county staff has done well at minimizing the administrative burden on those dollars, but in 2022, the county struggled to staff the plan, its plan hours, and the additional inspection hours requested by our lake associations in Crow Wing County. That created a very large amount of allocated dollars that were not spent for the county's planned staffing for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. For WAPOA, $12,750 of funds allocated to the chain were not spent in 2022. So we're not talking a small amount of dollars. The county now plans to roll those funds over into 2023. The lake associations in Crow Wing County requested 6,534 inspection hours over and above the county plan, and WAPOA requested almost half of those hours for inspections from Monday through Thursday at the 6 landings on the chain. If the county had been able to provide the requested staffing, WAPOA would have spent over $55,000 for the inspection hours. In addition, we spend close to $6,000 per year to have PLM survey all the landings and numerous other designated areas around the chain for AIS, and we do this twice per year. No new AIS was found in 2022 in the chain, once again offering credible evidence that inspections, no matter what day of the week, are effective at preventing the spread of AIS. Starry stone wort has now been found in 2 Cass County lakes, Bone and Leech. Gull, pelican, and the chain are at high risk of an infestation of starry stone wort, given the movement of boats between Leech and these area lakes. The chain is at particular risk due to the large number of accesses available. I learned last week that Leech Lake Association does not have an AIS reserve fund to fight their new infestation. But over time, WAPOA has put aside over $100,000 in designated reserves to specifically fight new AIS. Any operating profits for WAPOA are added to this AIS reserve fund. Paying Crow Wing County now for expenses that could be covered by state funds only serves to reduce our ability to fight AIS in the future. We feel strongly that the funds given to Crow Wing County by the state of Minnesota in 2022 should be used in 2022. The county was unable to meet its planned staffing goal. It should use those dollars to offset the costs incurred by the lake associations in 2022. By rolling over the unused funds from 22 to 23, the county is prioritizing its reserves from outside revenue over voluntary contributions made by members of lake associations. Ostensibly, this is an additional tax on lake association members.
Thank you. All right. Gary, did you have more?
Yeah, so what Tony said there, everything there was true. WAPOA is not the only lake that we didn't meet our expanded coverage. There was numerous lakes that we just didn't have enough inspectors. The question not only is for WAPOA, what about the other lakes that paid us for their expanded coverage, but we didn't meet our requirements on those landings too? Do we cut them a check to pay them like we were, like WAPOA's asking here?
Any idea how much that would be, Gary, if we?
We'd have to probably run the numbers unless, Jessica, you have
Yeah,
something.
that's okay. I just,
Not offhand.
It's roughly 40 grand.
from the other lakes.
For the other
Associations.
lakes,
If Wapoa's is 12, and that's half,
WAPOA would be the largest. It would maybe be 15,000-ish.
40 is high.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I can. So WAPOA was billed for the hours that were actually filled for their request,
For the expanded, yep.
for their expanded request. This money that will be carried over, how will that be spent next year?
If I can, Mr. Chair, we do have ideas. One of the bigger expenses that are on our horizon would be to get a second mobile decon unit. We do believe very strongly that mobile decon is very cost efficient because you can have an inspector at the landing at the same time having the decon there. So, you don't have one person just sitting at a decon away from a landing waiting for people to come there for, you can do almost like a 2-for-1. So it's a lot more from a staffing component. That's one idea. We also wanted to purchase a mat for our existing decon so we can go to more landings. Right now, I think we can only do a 7 or 8. It has to be 200 or 300 feet away from the water because we don't have a recycle mat. So we do have some large expenses that historically, to keep the inspection numbers very high, we haven't, the only way we've made purchases like the mobile decon was we've had rollover in the past that's helped fund some of that. Even though we don't really budget for that because we do try to meet those hours and there wouldn't be a lot of rollover. When there has been rollover, we've tried to improve the program with larger purchases if we had the money.
Mr. Chair, too, if I can, we've seen a decline in inspections over the last 2 years, correct? What do you anticipate for this coming year?
I think the biggest decline is probably because we didn't have the inspectors there doing the inspections.
Correct.
So
Are we going to be able to?
I think the other thing we need to address is one, if not $2 more an hour to try to attract more people that want to come and work and do this inspection program. That's also going to, out of the 460,000 we get, would be a huge reduction in inspections. But you take this rollover dollars and you put that kind of towards that, it can kind of help have to go back to all these lake associations going, I know last year you got 500 or 300 wherever they're at. Now that gets cut by 50 or 100. Nobody wants to see that either. So it's this delicate dance of trying to get the program to be operated at a very good effectiveness, and we used the model from MACERC and United States Fish and Wildlife to show where the most high risk is. And that's where we delegate most of the hours. But the lower inspection numbers, I really do believe is because we are just light on
I agree. So finding that staff will be hard. I was also just noticing, Nisswa Lake is looked at a very low risk, and now they have a brand-new boat landing. I would imagine that could change in the risk aspect, and a number of the lakes would.
Yeah, and we're just really getting, I think they got 100 hours. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Jessica. But we're going to get more inspection data, so that might lead us to, we might want to, it may lead to a recommendation to give them more hours depending on the traffic volumes there. But it's definitely right off of 371, highly visible now. So it could be used quite a bit.
Mr. Chair? Can we make sure the DNR knows that we have extra parking spots? Because isn't that how it's allocated?
Yeah, we just went through a huge redo and counted all of our 2 years ago. I think we got north of 20,000 more a year by recounting. So when we become aware of a new launch or an expanded parking, we make sure that we get that in the mix. Yep, just, yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I might ask, Gary, on the current agreements, because that's what we're basically talking about here, was there any defined in the agreement to do the 2,600 that the county was proposing to do, timeframes designated and days of week of service? Was that in that agreement? And were the lake associations, WAPOA in this case, but any of them, when they ask for additional time or money, are they doing it outside of what we would normally provide the service for? So if we do weekend service and they want to do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we weren't ever proposing to do that, correct?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Barrels, that is correct. We tried to hold true to our core hours, we call them first. And if we had inspectors that wanted to work, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursdays, or sometimes before or at 9 in the morning or 6 p.m., we did have a few fishing tournaments or whatnot that might be a little earlier. We definitely would allow that, and they were covered by the Lake Association. That was the agreement.
So was that spelled out specifically that so there was a clear understanding that those additional hours and times would not be refundable if they chose to go that route? They do.
Based off of past practice, we haven't paid for expanded coverage. That's outside of our core hours. And I'll just speak for the county, we thought we had a clear understanding. Obviously, I don't know if it wasn't a lack of clear understanding other than now they just really believe that the money should be spent this year and then have it roll over.
Mr. Chair, my concern though, Gary, is that in any agreements, it has to be spelled out very clearly to both parties what's expected and what's going to happen if something doesn't take place. And I'm not sure that we've reached that level of understanding between the two groups. Would that be correct?
I think that's correct. I think that we can have more clarifying language in the plan moving forward based on your guys' wishes as far as if we don't meet our hours, do we allow to pay for expanded coverage? Do we, or do we historically what we've done since we've enacted this program was roll the money over to the next year? So from the county's perspective, this was not anticipated. We believe the agreement was that each lake association pays for expanded coverage solely on their own, not part of our funded program.
So, Mr. Chair, and I understand, Gary, that from the county's perspective, that's what was understood. I'm not sure all the lake associations understood that. And that's where I have a problem with the agreement between the two parties and then trying to establish who owes what and how we're going to handle the financial.
I totally understand, Commissioner Barrows. I don't know, Jessica, if you have it, how many other lake associations asked for expanded coverage. This is the only one that didn't pay for their expanded coverage. So that could help you, with that the understanding out there maybe was better than what it was with WAPOA.
Tim?
Mr. Chair, this was a circumstance that only recently reared its head. When we are able to meet our coverage hours, this isn't an issue. And it has only been recently, because of the employment market, that neither of us have been able to reach our intended number of hours. I think in the past, this was a pretty simple understanding. We identified the hours we wanted coverage, and we paid for those. We allowed lake associations to add additional coverage hours in if they wanted to. So the agreement that we had with them had nothing to do with our number of hours. It had to do with the additional hours they wanted to purchase. I think Mr. Coffey would like us to take into account now adding into the scope of that agreement the number of hours we had. I think his argument is that since an AIS inspection hour was made, that we should take the savings associated with the hours we wanted and invest them in the hours they wanted. I think that's as simple as I can make it, and the question is, should we allow that? If we allow that here, there are other lake associations that we will need to issue a refund to because they paid the bill for their expanded hours. The only thing I don't like about this, and I know Mr. Coffey, and I like and I respect Mr. Coffey, this was a unilateral action taken by WAPOA. That's not how friends treat each other. We should have had a conversation about it before you sent us a letter saying you're not going to pay an invoice.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Coring.
So looking at the request for board action, so really what Gary's looking for is he's just seeking direction on what the county board would like to do with the letter that was sent by WAPOA. Is that correct?
That is
Yes.
correct.
Okay. Then I would, Mr. Chair, I would move that we do not accept the letter and the ask from WAPOA. We continue to do the inspections the way that we have in the past, and we roll the money over to next year. Does that make sense?
It does to us, yeah.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Coring. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Brecken. Therese, if you would.
Commissioner Barrows?
No.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag?
Aye. Motion passes.
So for clarification too, we will send them a second invoice, see if they'll pay it. You know, we don't have a mechanism currently to make them pay an invoice. It might be a legal thing. And then we will bring some options for you with the new AIS plan for 2023 on how you want to address this type of thing in the future.
Perfect.
So that it's in the plan and be very clear.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, next up, County Engineer. Good morning, Rob.
Good morning again. We have two items for you today, both related to final assessment certifications for some petitioned for roadway improvements that were asked for approximately a year ago. The first one is Shalisa Lane. Oh, as a reminder, this is First Assessment District Town Board business. So the first one is Shalisa Lane. This petition came forward during the winter last year. The percentage of signers was enough to present it to the county board. A public hearing was held. The project was ordered to move forward. The project is now completed. And the final assessment per parcel owner came out to $4,599. It was estimated almost the same, 4,613 per parcel owner. So we asked for adoption of that resolution, which will allow Land Services to notify the property owners of the assessment and put it on the tax rolls.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Brecken. Roll call.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg?
Aye. The motion passes. Thank you. Next.
And the second one, identical process, about the same time of the year also for Carolyn Lane, another roadway that was improved. At the time of the public hearing, it was estimated the cost per parcel owner would be $3,885. The final cost ended up at $3,997, so a little over $100 more per parcel, and we'd be seeking the same resolution.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Coring. Roll call.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg?
Aye. Motion passes too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Next up, County Sheriff.
Nothing prepared, Mr. Chair. If you have any questions, we have to answer.
Any questions? Just a shout out to Adam for your service, and congratulations to Mr. Bradley. Appreciate it, and look forward to working with you going forward. All right, any other questions? Sitting none, County Attorney. I know this.
Chairman, I don't have anything prepared for today other than to thank Commissioner Brecken for his service, and it was nice working with you for these last 4 years, and don't be a stranger.
Okay, thank you.
And I can answer any questions anyone might have for me as well.
Any questions for Don? Seeing none, thank you, Don. County Administrator.
Mr. Chair, there was no senior management team meeting yesterday, so I have a request for board action in your packet. It is to appoint Public Safety Communications Regional Advisory Committee for Interoperable Public Safety Communications. It's known as the RAC. We are requesting that 911 Operations Lieutenant Jessica Turner continue to be the delegate, and the Emergency Management Coordinator Scott Heide continue to be the alternate. They have asked for updated appointments, and I believe that needs to be by board action.
All right.
How have we done that in the past? Has that been a chair appointment?
We've done it both ways, so your choice.
Well, let's let the board speak. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? Motion by Commissioner Barrows. Is there a second?
I'll second that. And just a question on that motion. Is that appointing the same people that have been on there in the past?
That is correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, second by Commissioner Coring. Roll call.
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg?
Aye. That motion passes.
Mr. Chair, also enclosed in your packet is just the updated list of citizen committee appointments. If you are prepared to make any of those, we could entertain those at this time.
Let's see. What have we got? Anybody got any appointments? I will assign Bonnie Goshi to.
Mr. Chair, I did add, and Teresa, I don't know if you saw it, but Rebecca Best and Ray Griffin and Beth Passy all agreed to go another 2 years.
Mr. Chair, are those appointments made?
Yes.
Okay.
Any others? Seeing none?
I did have some that had said yes, but those commissioners are not here today or are not quite the commissioner yet.
So we
But
can
we'll bring those
do them at the
forward
next
next
meeting.
time.
Perfect. All right.
Mr. Chair, happy to answer any questions about those things or anything related to county government.
Any questions? We are at additional business. Commissioner Brecken?
Commissioner Chair, thank you very much. Well, today's my last meeting as a county commissioner for Crow Wing County. I do find it bittersweet. I have found the opportunity to do public service rewarding and think that with time, I would have probably done a pretty good job doing that. But on the other hand, the county commissioner position is a full-time position with opportunities to work deeper doing Jesus work at community services, with the mental health being an emergency focus that they need to focus on. Protecting our natural resources, lakes and timber, managing the growth and good planning for the housing and workforce and economic development of our county can be a key factor that I think our county commissioners can play a role in. And finally, maintaining a nonpartisan election process for our commissioners. Crow Wing County runs a fair and honest election, and we have situations like the Second Amendment and other issues that are going to be coming at the county commissioners that that are not in our authority or responsibility. The residents and the county commissioners need to stay focused on where they can make a difference within the county. I do need to say thank you to the residents of Crow Wing County for the opportunity to serve as the county commissioner. It has been humbling and rewarding for me. To all the employees of Crow Wing County, I'm impressed with your pride, your loyalty, and commitment to the jobs and the residents of the Crow Wing County, and I'm proud to have served with the best. To Tim Houle and the senior management staff, your professionalism, your leadership makes Crow Wing County one of the best managed counties in Minnesota. I was a student, you were my teachers, and we grew together. It's a relationship that I'll carry with me. My fellow commissioners, thank you. I am proud of the accomplishments we've had. Your insight, your experience, and your commitment to the residents of Crow Wing County have made it a privilege and an honor to serve with each of you. With that, I have to say, I'll miss you all. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Goring.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to say something. Bill, I want to say, God bless you for serving for these last 4 years. I know you, and I'm not speaking for anybody else except myself. You and I have had some bumpy times along the way, but I never doubted that your heart was in the right place. I don't know if you ever got mad at me, but I was mad at you from time to time. But we've buried the hatchet, and I do believe you are a very, very good man who I believe you have your priorities in the right place. And so I just want to say it has been an honor, a little bit bumpy, but it has been an honor to serve with you these last 4 years, Bill, and I wish you much, much, much success in the future. You're a fine gentleman.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'm coming at a loss for words for Bill because he stirred the pot so much during these 4 years that I was not able to keep up with the turmoil that was created. But I have to say, Commissioner Brecken, and I use that term with all the respect in the world, starting out a relationship that Bill and I had at a casual one at Caribou Coffee and culminating with our experience on the county board has been nothing but fun. And I have appreciated our conversations over the course of time, being able to banter back and forth, and you always say, well, I learned so much from you, Steve. I have learned so much from you, Bill, in how to work with groups of people, which I never wasn't one of my strengths. And so I've appreciated watching you and learning from you over the course of these 4 years. I know that going forward, I don't think we've heard the last of you, which kind of makes me nervous. But I am looking forward to that. I think you have a lot to give yet to the community, to the county. And so with that, I say thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Bill, I'll tell you, it's been a pleasure and an honor, as the other commissioners have said, working as a commissioner, but even more important, the friendship that we've made over the 4 years. And I won't say that's gone. Hopefully, we'll continue to meet and discuss issues. You've brought a lot of insight in your 4 years and done a lot of great for Crow Wing County, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can we get a picture? We have a plaque for Commissioner.
All right.
I mean, do you want me to like? All right, 1, 2, 3. Get a little closer. You're free.
I'd say good luck in your free time, but I know that won't change.
Yeah, free but not free time.
Right. All right.
So, Mr. Chair, if I might just take a second, I want to wish all the staff a Happy New Year. It looks like you all made it through Christmas, but Happy New Year. Thank you for everything that you folks do. Certainly, I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to come and talk to you about issues. I have had nothing but grand things to say about the staff, so thank you very much. And likewise to the residents of Crow Wing County, Happy New Year.
Thank you. We will entertain a...
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Mr. Chair, is it appropriate that he makes that motion?
Still gets it.
I'll second that motion.
Been waiting for that, haven't you? Motion by Commissioner Brecken, second by Commissioner Barrows.
One last time, Commissioner Brecken,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag.
Aye. We are adjourned.